Hi, it's Katy Mackenzie, mortgage professional with TMG The Mortgage Group and your host of I Love Vancouver Real Estate. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. It's my pleasure today to be here with Cyrus Jagosh of ProCrew Painting. As president and head of sales at ProCrew Painting, Cyrus brings over 15 years experience into his expertise in paint products, application, and the customer experience. Prior to launching his own business, Cyrus worked in sales with Sherwin William Paint. He strives to ignite what he terms painting happy experiences. Cyrus, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Katie.
Now, I think our listeners might be thinking, it's just paint. What could I possibly learn that I don't already know? So, tell us something right out of the gate. What do we not know about paint that we need to know?
So one thing that I found really interesting is the colors that we use to paint actually used to symbolize things. And one thing a red door used to symbolize is a paid mortgage.
I've heard this.
Cool.
Yeah, in Scotland, I believe. That's where the tradition started. Yeah.
So I thought that was a really interesting way of using a red paint door.
Yeah, and what's funny, I don't ever see any red painted doors, maybe because we live in Vancouver. That's interesting. No, that's a great way. I did know that, but I bet most of our listeners did not.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. So, the one thing that you had said in a meeting that we were in together a few weeks ago was talking about paint for a lot of people where they have health concerns, allergies, and different paints that are available to create a better home environment, a better work environment to live in. So tell us a little bit about that.
So it is really important to us that we do meet our customers' needs, and they're impacted by the environment. We want to do whatever we can to help with that. So in lieu of our own practices, in combination with some new technologies out there, we do a few different things that can really help out. And so one thing first one I want to talk about is HEPA vacuum cleaners. Mm-hmm. This is just a vacuum that is known to, whatever goes through the vacuum gets 100% of the dust removed out of it. Mm-hmm. So there are a tool called Festool that we use in conjunction with our sanding equipment. And what that means is that when we're sanding down patches in someone's home, we can remove as much of the dust that we can get through the vacuum cleaner so it's not going into their lungs. Mm-hmm. So that's one way that we try to keep people's spaces dust-free as much as possible. It also helps with the cleaning part afterwards. Mm-hmm. One thing that really impacts people is what we call, or what's been termed as VOCs. And when I first heard it, I was like, what is this? VOCs? Is this just another term? What's going on? And it stands for volatile organic compound. And I really didn't understand it until I spoke to my friend who was going to UBC and doing chemical engineering. Mm-hmm. And he helped explain to me that the word volatile means moving at a very quick rate, high vapor that can evaporate at room temperature. So when we think of paint, we can often think of the solvent in the product needs to evaporate at room temperature. We don't mm-hmm. increase the room's temperature for it to evaporate. Mm-hmm. So that tends to release VOCs, a volatile organic compound. And what happens is these VOCs impact the human in terms of creating headaches, creating other discomforts as well. Mm-hmm. So technology has worked its way to be able to take the VOCs out of the paint and allow the paint to dry properly. And there's been even further innovation done now where the paint will actually help reduce the VOCs of other VOC-releasing products in your home. So if you bought a new piece of furniture, perhaps you had a new carpet put down, mm-hmm. all of these things have VOCs being emitted off of it. And we now have a paint that we can apply that lasts about 3 to 5 years in terms of its functionality to continue to reduce the VOCs in your indoor airspace. Again, I had to go to my chemical engineering friend and I was like, come on, what is this?
Yeah.
You're telling me now paint used to cause people's headaches and now paint's going to help people's headaches? So I was in the University of British Columbia and we were walking down the halls of the corridors of the chemical engineering department, and he points out to me the graph that represents titanium dioxide coming in contact with VOCs and how it changes the speed, the volatileness of the organic compound and slows it down. So it's no longer volatile. And at that point, I'm like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
We can actually put a coating on that helps people breathe better in their space.
Now, does paint normally emit a VOC for the time that it's on the wall, or does it dissipate sort of after that first application?
It's a great question. With the oil-based paints, they used to continue to emit VOCs for a very long time until the solvent was 100% gone. And then by that time, you start to notice the cracking of oil-based paints.
Mm-hmm.
The new paints that are zero VOC, they don't have any in them, so they're no longer releasing them on a continuous basis.
Mm-hmm. That's good, yeah. So I suffer from migraine. So having an environment in which, you're not impacted by various smells that can trigger migraines. This is a definite joy. So, outside of creating a better home space, there's also, creating a better workspace. And for a lot of people, entrepreneurs, that home and workspace can be one and the same. So how do you work with people who are looking to do that and create, a separation through paint or textures and paint and those kinds of things to create a better work and or home space?
Traditionally, paint was often thought of as two reasons. One is beautify and the other is to protect. And there's quite a bit of functionality in protecting. With new innovations, we're actually to offer newer functionality. And one of the ones that is my favorite is the dry erase coating.
Yeah.
So now we can take any wall of any color and turn it into a dry erase board. So
not just white.
Not just white anymore, any color.
Oh.
My idea would be to do a black wall, put the dry erase paint on, and have a white dry erase marker.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Almost like a chalkboard.
Chalkboard, yes.
Yeah.
So I haven't found the white erase marker yet, but we have found the neon dry erase markers, and they do really well on the darker colors. So if you have, for example, your company logo wall is a particular color, and it's in your boardroom, and it's the most ideal wall for you to doing your presentations on, you can apply this coating on top of your existing color scheme, and then you can just, during your presentation, start writing on your wall.
That's awesome. I would love to be doing that. I think that's great.
Bringing functionality into our services as an end product, it means a lot to us.
Yeah. Well, then you're not buying another large piece of plastic that never decomposes, and you're creating another use for that same space, so you don't necessarily need another room with a board like that for brainstorming on or drawing an illustration on either, which is great.
I was recently in a very small boardroom, and the whiteboard was only viewable by half of the boardroom. And I thought that would have been a great scenario as well, to be able to write in anywhere to allow everyone to see.
Now, I have seen chalk paint or chalkboard paint for families and kids who love to draw on the walls, because kids love to draw on the walls. And this creates that sort of opportunity for kids to be creative in, the bottom foot along the runner of the wall.
Yes.
So that's another way. Is there anything else that people are doing in that regard? I've seen textured paint.
So texture paint is making a comeback. It definitely helps with the sound reverberations of a room as well. And we can just roll on a texture now. So it's no longer has to be applied manually with the sprayer. We can just roll on a texture, and you can change the way that the light reflects in your room based off of the texture that we put on the walls.
Really? Yeah. So can you create sort of a brightening of a darker room with texture?
You would do the opposite. You would be creating a darker room with texture because the light won't reflect as well.
Ah, okay. Yeah, see, this is why I need to hire you and not try and do this myself. So, okay, now, what is a painting party?
That's a great question. So this is an idea that came along when I worked with Sherwin Williams, and I'm not sure if it's being done in Vancouver, but it's the idea of bringing a group of people together who are not necessarily painters, having the bulk of your labor paid with pizza and beer in hopes to complete a painting project.
Mm-hmm.
So a story that we recently did last year was we worked with the Boys and Girls Club. We went in as a group of volunteers, And we coordinated about a 6-hour day with about 20 volunteers to repaint nearly the entire interior of the Boys and Girls Club in Vancouver. And it was a lot of fun. It was very effective. They were extremely happy to be able to have their facility repainted at the cost that it was.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a really great success. So we thought that we would aim this out as a service as well, for the right fit.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're purchasing a new home and all your money is tied up. You might be starting off a nonprofit organization and you want to revamp the office space, and so much of your money is already going to these different places, and you
want team building.
And you have team building. So exactly. So it's a great way.
Would you come in and do sort of the stuff that we wouldn't know about, where you're doing the taping or any sanding or filling of holes and showing us how to do that, and then we do the easy part?
Absolutely. So what we do is we provide a set of directions or instructions. Yeah. We team people up. Before we go in, we actually will assess the entire job, and we'll determine how many hours each project will take, what needs to get done first, and we put a game plan together. And then on day of execution, we start directing people on what needs to get done first, the best means of getting it done, how to use the tools if they haven't used it before. And we supply the tools, we supply the drop sheets, and we're there the entire time that your team is there working. And we're there for coaching, we're there for directing, and we're making sure that the job gets done properly. And if there is a disaster, we're there to help with the disaster. And if things don't get completed perfectly the way that you want at the end, we can always come back at the end and do any final touch-ups to kind of bring it up to the standards you're looking for.
Yeah. Now, this is great for nonprofit and team building. I think it's an excellent opportunity because I know a lot of people don't paint because they're concerned with the cost. And not cost of paint, it's cost of labor. And so people avoid it. They don't do it. They don't enjoy their home space. Like a lot of people who do a home staging before a sale will apply a coat of paint, and it brings the home to life, and they have a whole new experience. And so I always say to people, you have to have it within your budget, but don't deem it as an expense, because if you're going to beautify your home and enjoy that space more, you should do it. You should put that investment in. So what would somebody look for in hiring the right painter for their job? If they have said, you know what, I'm going to do this, maybe I should do it myself to avoid, the larger labor expense. So again, what should somebody look for in hiring the right individual?
That's a great question.
And why shouldn't they just do it themselves?
So in terms of what you should look for, professionalism, knowledge, experience. And I think what's really important and sometimes missed is knowing the customer's experience, what they're going to be going throughout the process, to make sure that we're able to alleviate or create a better process for the painting project. Why you would want to hire us? It's for those reasons. We know what it's going to take to do the project properly. We know what time it's going to take. For painting, like you mentioned, it is a labor project. So if you could imagine spending a few hundred hours painting your own place versus having a team of 3 people cutting that time span in 3, it creates a lot less disruption to your life. Preparing for the painters is a lot of work, let alone doing the painting yourself.
Yeah, like I've tried to do a little bit myself once, a decade ago. And I didn't realize how much time and energy went into the prep.
Yes.
And then actually selecting the paint, buying the paint, going to get the paint, coming home, preparing to paint, and then actually painting and hoping you've done it right.
And hoping you like the color.
Yeah. So all those pieces, in the first condo that I purchased, we had someone help us with our color selection, and I picked 3 colors for the 3 different rooms, and then the painter was able to say, I know exactly what you're looking for, but it's not going to be these 3 colors. It's going to be these 3 colors, because here's what's going to happen when that little paint swatch goes on the wall. Right, en masse, on a large scale size. So Yeah, I was very, very good in handing over the reins. But, small jobs I've tried on my own. But, yeah, I would highly recommend hiring a painter for sure. So what makes you different and ProCrew different outside of, saying that, you are looking into what that experience is going to be like for the client and what their, not just their need of painting that wall is, but what, the larger scale impact will be in their life.
So part of the benefits of hiring ProCrew is a consultant kind of service. Because I've got 10 years running a painting company and then 5 years dedicated working with Sherwin Williams as a sales representative, I've seen many more paint failures than the average contractor.
Yeah.
Understand the depths of the life of a product. So one of the questions I often get is, my deck keeps failing. And I ask, well, how long has it been? And they say it's been 1 to 2 years. And we try to establish at this point that is the average life expectancy of a deck stain, 2 to 3 years for a deck paint. So the benefit of hiring us is you get that consultancy. We are able to solve problems in many different ways. We looked at a project the other day, and there is a paint failure occurring, and the homeowner is considering sanding it all down, bringing it back to a fresh surface and restarting. And we explain to them a process called peel away. And we apply a product, we put paper on top of the product, we let it sit for 48 hours, and then when we peel the paper back, it removes the paint. The benefit I explained to the client was it no longer puts lead dust into the air, which is an environmental concern that once they acknowledged and realized that, they realized, okay, wait, this is something that we need to do if we want to do it effectively and not hurt our community. So having a consultant approach to painting your house is just going to be beneficial to making sure that you are getting the project done right and keeping everyone happy.
So is there anything else that we should know about Cyrus or ProCrew painting and painting overall? Anything we haven't touched on? I mean, there's 1,000,001 topics, but for the sake of the podcast today, we don't want to go into all of it. We want people to call you and ask those questions.
That would be great.
And get involved. But is there anything else that we should know today?
We're really eager to help. Our whole team is eager to help, eager to make your life easier. So feel free to give us a call, and we'd love to figure out what it is that would make it easier for you to get these kinds of projects you have in mind done.
Excellent.
I'll also mention that we also do a maintenance program as well. So a lot of times painters think that I'm never going to see you again for 7 or 8 years, or sooner or later. Yeah. We like to think along the lines of we'll hope to see you at least once or twice every couple of years. We love to come in, touch up the areas that are failing, clean the areas that have a little bit of mold growth on it, and keep your house looking great.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Cyrus, how do people reach you?
So telephone, email, text, website, person, any way possible.
Yeah?
Yes.
What's the website address?
So
let's start there.
ProCrewPainting.com.
Yeah.
The email would be Cyrus, Cyrus, at ProCrewPainting.com. Phone number 604-785-2739.
Excellent. And of course, we'll put all the links in the show notes for the podcast as well,
Amazing.
So we'll have access to those.
Thank you, Katie.
Please feel free to reach out to Cyrus if you have any questions. Highly recommend him and ProCrew Painting for all your internal and exterior painting needs. And thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Should you have any other further questions for myself, please do reach out. You can reach me, Katie Mackenzie, at mackenziemortgage.com. Please subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, leave us a review, and share with your friends. Until next time, I'm Katie Mackenzie, mortgage professional with TMG The Mortgage Group, and your host of I Love Vancouver Real Estate.